So I will begin. Thanks for joining us tonight for our first virtual volunteer workshop. I'm really excited because we have some great speakers lined up today. My name is Sarah and I'm the Community Engagement Specialist with the London Environmental Network, and I'm going to be running this webinar today. So let's get started with our agenda. So first I'll be giving you some background about the London Environmental Network. Then I'm going to be highlighting our volunteer opportunities that are on our website. Then I'm going to be kind of sharing with you my journey into London's environmental sector. Then we're going to have the speakers come on. We have 4 great speakers from really diverse backgrounds. And they're going to share with you a little information about their organization and their volunteer opportunities and kind of like a day in the life of a volunteer. So our goal for this webinar is to find a position that fits your needs. So we have so many positions available. What I want you to do tonight basically is to figure out what you really enjoy, what kind of volunteer opportunity interests you, and write down a few ideas during this webinar. So our speakers today are Richie from Urban Roots London, Kelsey from Reforest London, Nicole from Let's Talk Science, and Rebecca from Thames Talbot Land Trust. Each speaker is going to talk for about 5 minutes, and then we're going to have 2 minutes of questions after each speaker, after which I encourage you to ask questions. We want you to turn on your mic and video if possible to ask these questions and kind of use it as a networking opportunity. That being said, this webinar is being recorded, so if you're not comfortable with doing that, you can also ask questions in the chat. After that, I'll be sharing some environmental training resources with you and then sharing the speaker contact info. So just to let you know, all of this is going to be recorded and then we're going to put it up on our website, but I'm also going to give you a link to all of the stuff that we talk about today, so you don't have to worry about grabbing a pen and paper if you don't have it with you. So let's get started. First, I would like to do a land acknowledgement. So we at the London Environmental Network recognize the 3 First Nations communities downstream of the Deshkan-Zibi, which is Chippewas of the Thames First Nation, Oneida Nation of the Thames, and Munsee Delaware Nation. We strive to work with these communities to continue to listen, learn, and restore the natural area back to its beauty, support environmental initiatives, and help our communities become climate resilient. So if you want to see our full land acknowledgement, you can actually find it on our website. So first I wanted to share a little bit about what we do. So we connect, educate, and support individuals and organizations to transitioning to a more sustainable future. We started operating in 2015 and incorporated in 2018. And we're a membership-based network. So we support over 45 environmental organizations in the area. And our vision is for London to be known as one of the greenest and most resilient cities in Canada. And our mission is to build participation, collaboration, and capacity in our community to co-create positive environmental change. So what that means day by day is that we run these programs that help communities, organizations, and people kind of live a sustainable life. So we have Green Economy London, which helps businesses and organizations set and achieve sustainability targets. We have network supports where we support those environmental organizations. And we do that by providing promotional supports, hosting workshops and networking events, and helping them with promotions. We also have Green in the City, which is a seminar series that's actually happening right now. The next one is on February 18th, and it's about connecting global climate change to local impacts and solutions. So if you're interested in that, you can sign up on our website. We also have the Go Wild, Grow Wild Green Expo, which is an expo on sustainability, biodiversity, and native plants. And we're usually co-organizers of this expo, but it was unfortunately canceled because of COVID. But we do have kind of like adapted version, which is My Wild Green Home, which is an online platform that helps you green your life and your lifestyle. And we have environmental action incubators. So we support 6 environmental projects in the community each year. We also have Green Drinks London, which is a networking event that usually happens every other month, but it's been canceled because of COVID, but keep an eye out for it. Hopefully it's coming back soon. Right now I'm gonna switch off of the slides and then go to our website just to show you about our like networking opportunities, our events calendar, and so on. So just 1 second, move this, and this is our website. What I like to do is use the toolbar at the top here because I find it's very organized. So first I'll show you our events calendar, which you can get to by hovering over Get Involved and then clicking Events Calendar here. So you can see here, we have a lot of events and they're organized by date. So say I'm really interested in tomorrow's event, which is Powering Ontario Towards a Net Zero Economy. So I can click on that event and then I'll get a date and time as well as the location, but most of the events are actually online right now because of COVID. I'll also get an event description and a link to register for the event. So next I'll show you our blog, which you can get to by hovering over Connect and then clicking blog. And here are our blog posts. There's a lot of them because we release 2 of them every month. So if you're looking for a specific topic, you can go to filter by tags and then you can filter the topics here. We have a ton of topics to choose from. So this is even a good educational resource too. You can sign up for our newsletter too by hovering over Connect and then clicking Newsletter. And then all you have to do here is just fill in your info and then sign up. The newsletter is awesome because it shares with you like the environmental events, the blog posts, and any new information without having to come back to the website very often. So it's a great way to keep updated. And then I will show you the volunteer opportunities that we have. So you click Get Involved and then Volunteer Opportunities. So here are the current volunteer opportunities, and you can see there's a lot of them, even though it's winter. So say I'm really passionate about cycling, and so I decided that I want to volunteer for London Cycling. So I click that, and I can see here a description about CycleLink. If it really speaks to me, I can look at their volunteer opportunities, and they have bicycle valet, ambassador, ride marshal, event support, fixing bikes. So there's so much to choose from here, and that's kind of typical of most organizations, I would say, because there's so many roles to be filled. And usually there's either a link to learn about the organization, or there's an email that you can email about, yeah, there we go. So here, if we go to the London CycleLink website through the LEN website, we find a little more info on the volunteer positions, some nice photos, and then here they have a volunteer sign-up sheet. Yeah, so I will go back to my slides now. So these are all the organizations that are within our network. So there's really a ton to choose from. You kind of just have to figure out what you're interested in and then go to our website. Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention, one more second. If you don't find a volunteer position through this volunteer opportunities page here, what you can do is go and check out our member directory. And we've categorized them here. So there's sustainable transport, pollination and beekeeping, horticulture, energy, waste reduction, ecosystem health and conservation, sustainable food systems, environmental education, climate action, and water stewardship. So there's so many different kinds of organizations here in the London area that I really think that you can find a good volunteer opportunity. So say I'm really interested in pollination and beekeeping. So I click this here and then it'll show you all the organizations that are involved with that. So I'll click this one as an example and it'll have the organization's missions and objectives and then the typical volunteer opportunities. And what you can do here is email the organization directly and ask them if they're looking for volunteers. If you're going this route, I would say try to reach out to a few organizations because the first one might not work out because they may not be looking for volunteers at that time. But this is definitely kind of like a process where you have to try again to find something that you really enjoy. Now I will go back to my slides. So these are all the organizations here that we have in our umbrella network. So yeah, there's a ton to choose from. So now I'm going to share my journey into London's environmental sector, which actually started with volunteering. So when I was an undergrad, I really loved working outdoors. So I decided to volunteer at a wetland ecology lab to help them with field work. So here's a picture I took when I was volunteering in Yellowknife, which was an amazing opportunity. So I don't think I would have gone to the Northwest Territories otherwise. And this opportunity allowed me to actually do a master's with that lab, which was really cool. So my research site was at Tundra Mine, which is even more north of Yellowknife. And here's an overview of that mine. So it's an inactive gold mine that is kind of in the process of restoration. So my project was to assess the impacts of the mine on the plant communities and then help come up with a revegetation project. So this is a picture of me in my lab and we're collecting samples and it's actually August. So as you can see by my coat, it's quite warm there in the summer. But anyways, this opportunity was amazing because I got to experience so many things that I wouldn't have otherwise gotten to experience, like the Northern Lights, for example. So we took this picture one night after doing a lot of plant and soil collecting. And then I got to see a lot of cool animals. So this is a caribou that we saw. Luckily, we didn't run into any grizzly bears, which I'm okay with. And so after I was done my master's, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. And I had recently moved to London. That's actually when I came across the London Environmental Network. So what I did was I followed them on Instagram, Facebook, I signed up to their newsletter, and I was just really impressed that I was able to find so many organizations through their network. So I followed a lot of the organizations that I thought were really cool. And I was just scrolling one day on my phone and I saw that Urban Roots London was hiring a farm laborer. So I applied and I got the job, and I really enjoyed it because I love being outdoors and I love plants, but I still wanted to volunteer my time. So I reached out to the London Environmental Network to see if they were looking for volunteers. And they were looking for help with community engagement. So I started volunteering for them. And then eventually they received funding for my job, and that's how I'm here today. So that's enough about me. I'm going to pass it off to the speakers in just a second, but just to let you know, each speaker is going to have 5 minutes to talk, and then we're going to have 2 minutes of questions after. And yeah, so we want you to kind of get involved and turn on your camera and turn on your microphone. But to ask a question, you're going to have to click reactions and then raise your hand. And then I will choose a person to, I guess, ask their question then. So I'm going to pass it off to Richie.
Great, you can see my screen?
Yep.
All right, awesome. So hello everybody, my name is Richie Bloomfield, and I'm one of the co-founders of Reforest London. We're a not-for-profit urban farm that is actually located, if you're looking at my current PowerPoint screen, in the very bottom right corner. This is a very old picture, but that power plant might look familiar to some of you who are from London. And this is near Hamilton and Highbury. We're officially just located on Norland Avenue, so in the kind of southeast part of the city. We started a few years ago, and I'll try to make the story short, but the group of us that were starting this saw a number of challenges that we're facing in our communities, and these are all really big challenges, and we by no means are going to solve these problems, but we thought we could contribute to working towards solutions with all the other amazing organizations that already exist and continue to pop up, but well aware of the ecosystem decline and the way that we grow our food. We thought there was ways that we could do that in an urban space and kind of demonstrate that as a model. We were aware of the reality of the growing inequality across our communities in terms of what people are paid for their work. And so, as an organization, we've always committed to a living wage within where we're located. And the big one for us is food access. So we know that there are areas in our city where it's not as easy to get to not only a place that might sell fresh and healthy produce, but also at an affordable price. And so part of our model is to help with that. And then another big piece is connecting people to each other in the neighborhood and kind of breaking down the isolation that we have become accustomed to in the last few decades. So that's a big part of our volunteer opportunity, is being able to connect with other people in our city. And the other bonus is that we can share information and learn how to, for example, grow food. And I'm going to be honest with you, when we started this, most co-founders did not have growing food experience. We actually learned from the volunteers that came out and helped us do what we were doing. And so what we do right now, donate 1/3 of what we grow to our community partners. Those are Crouch Resource Center on Hamilton Road and My Sister's Place, among others. We sell 1/3 of what we grow at half price at our farmers markets twice a week, and for anyone to come to, and those prices are intended to be kind of half of what wholesale price would be. For a third is sold to restaurant partners that support what we're trying to accomplish. So more to the point, for why you're here, how can you volunteer? What opportunities are there? We've had to change some of this, obviously, in the last year, but we do intend this year to have weekly drop-in volunteer sessions time. So that means that whenever we're having a farmer's market at 21 Norland Avenue, we would also be having an open call for volunteers. So our Wednesday evening market, 4 p.m. until basically it gets dark. You could drop by on that day. You don't have to let us know ahead, and we'll have different tasks available to be done. And then we also have a market on Sundays from 10 a.m. till 1 p.m. And the same thing would be open there to come by and volunteer. For those who might be in school, whatever school that might be, we do work with a lot of the different high schools, universities in the area. So keep your eyes open for opportunities to come with a group again as things open up a little bit, hopefully in the future. But even if that is slower and doesn't happen as we hope, we were able this year, because we're so fortunate to have a large space outdoors, we still can book volunteer opportunities throughout the days with less people. So if you were wanting to get involved and we aren't able to have drop-in volunteer times, we are able to coordinate with your schedule and have you come out and volunteer with 2 or 3 other people alongside our staff who are out in the field farming. If someone's working at a company right now and you're interested in maybe getting some of your coworkers to come out with you, definitely reach out to us, and we'd be happy to organize a corporate a volunteer trip as well. And again, depending on the pandemic parameters that we need to follow. And what you do, it depends on the time of year. It can be everything from getting our little baby plants, our seedlings started and transplanted, or maybe up potted if that's what needs to happen. Right now, these are growing in our location actually at Reforest London, and we might be planting our garlic, which goes in late in the fall and goes over winter, and then it comes up in the spring. So all kinds of different activities. This is a picture to give you a sense of a lay of the land, if you will. There's now actually a few more buildings on the property than what you see here, and thankfully, because this picture from our very first or second year story, things are a little more organized since we got started. So I am cognizant of time, but I will say that personally, over the years being out here, there's a lot of beautiful moments to being outdoors, connecting with others, and moments like this where the sun's going down, traffic's going by, but you're still connected to the land and other people, and there's something really special about that. So we'd love to see you out there, and I'm happy to answer any questions you guys might have.
Thanks, Richie. That was awesome. I can say firsthand that working there is really amazing. So we have one question. What are your busiest months like planting, harvesting, and when do you need the most help?
Great question. It comes in spurts. I would say early in the spring, we have a big wave of work that has to be done to get ready for the growing season. And so that can be, I guess, depending on the weather, April or May, maybe both. And then usually later in the fall, there's another big rush. But I mean, to be honest, as soon as we can be out there and the weather is suitable, there's pretty much always something that could be done.
And someone else was asking, can kids help?
Absolutely. That's a really fun part about this. And depending on the age of the kids, and we've had groups come out from schools that are pretty young, and then even in volunteer evenings, people are more than welcome to bring their children, and sometimes they're not maybe always working in the field, they might just be playing, and that's also fine. So we're more than happy to have children.
Okay, sorry, we're out of time for Richie, but thank you so much for that. It was awesome. We're going to move on to Kelsey next.
All right. Well, thank you very much for having me. Like Sarah said, I'm Kelsey from Reforest London, their volunteer coordinator, and I look forward to telling you all about who we are, what great impacts our volunteers make, and how you can get involved right now. I will time myself because this presentation has been shortened from an hour to 5 minutes. Okay, so before we get started, I want to tell you a little story about one of our volunteers. So who doesn't love a story? So this is Jenny Bett. She started high school this past year and wanted to earn her volunteer hours. And she cared about the environment, cared about trees, she liked gardening. So she looked up Reforest London and started coming to some tree planting events. And within a season, which is 2 months, she volunteered at 12 different events. So she was just volunteering multiple times a week, and she enjoyed it so much that she started even taking our tree specialist training to take on a higher level role so that she could volunteer at our tree giveaways, which is where you help people pick out a tree for their yard. So, and she also, so she started off by wanting to earn her high school hours, but then she also said, I learned so many new skills in tree identification and naturalization that she will no doubt have doors opened for her in the future. So in addition to that, she's also starting to get ideas of what she wants to do with her career. So that's really exciting and a nice little success story of one of our volunteers. So who is Reforest London? What are we? So we're a nonprofit organization based in London with the mission to plant, grow, and sustain our urban forest by engaging our community. And our vision is to see Londoners thriving in a healthy urban forest. So we do that through the 3 E's, which are empowerment, ecosystem health, and education. And so what impact have we made? Well, we've existed for about 15 years, since 2005, and since then we've engaged volunteers over 61,000 times, and together with them we've planted over 79,000 trees and shrubs. And just as an example of one of our typical years, last year wasn't very typical, but in 2019 we had over 340 events. So that's almost an event every day on average. So we're very active for a small organization because of the massive power of our volunteers. And another thing I wanted to mention too that's sort of unique or different about our focus on trees is that in 2019, we also became the owners of the new Westminster Pond Centre for Environment and Sustainability. This looks like a dilapidated old building, but there's actually 4 buildings on this site where our office is, and it belonged to the hospital, but they wanted to divest the property, and we saw it as an amazing opportunity to open an environmental center. So to have this whole big area with 4 buildings devoted to all kinds of environmental activities and education events. So I've talked about Westminster Ponds a lot, but tonight's really unique because we actually have, so Thames Table Land Trust, they're based out of the Westminster Pond Centre. Len has an office there. Urban Roots recently moved in to some extent as well. So it's just to demonstrate how the progress is going. So I'll talk a little bit about volunteer opportunities with the center as well. Yeah, so ways to volunteer. I'll start off with the Westminster Pond Centre since I just spoke about it. We're just starting to have volunteer roles. So we have like a Westminster Pond Centre committee, but then this year we're also planning on having some ground maintenance roles like gardening and planting trees, some special events. We want to have some like launch events, some outreach and promotion, so social media. And then also through this project, we're hosting a lot of webinars, educational events through the banner of Signal Boost. So you can also just attend an event and learn more about various environmental topics. But what are we most known for? It's tree planting. So you can come plant some trees and help grow our urban forest. So this is every spring and fall, typically during the weekends. We will organize public events where people can come out and plant trees. So typically you can just drop in, but with COVID, we changed it so that people have to register online ahead of time so we can keep the numbers in the allowed numbers. So hopefully this spring we'll be able to have about up to 25 people. We'll reassess given the rules, but basically no experience is necessary. We provide training on site. All ages are welcome, so you can bring your kids or go with your parents or bring your friends. Individuals as well as groups are welcome. So whether it's your sports team, your club, your coworkers, your faith group, it's a great way to get together. And it's also great because it's something you can do while still social distancing. So then trees also need care. So it's very similar to the tree planting events, except that it happens in the summer, and this is where we take care of trees. We also have tree giveaways where people who are more specialized help people pick out the right tree for their yard. We have outreach events when COVID's not happening. We have really big special events where we have hundreds of people. We have people who give presentations to the community and a huge other host of options. So there really is a huge number of things you can do. So how to get involved, you can go to reforestlondon.ca, click volunteer and then volunteer application form and tell us what you're interested in and we'll add you to those volunteer lists. You can sign up to our newsletter just right on our homepage, reforestlondon.ca, and you can also, of course, follow us on social media. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Kelsey. That was great. Lots of good info. And now if anyone has any questions, you can put your hand up or type them in the chat.
I'd asked through the chat, but I don't know if it went through. To volunteer at the actual center, do you need some type of experience? Like, is there specific positions that are going to be available there that require a background in environmental knowledge or tree knowledge?
It depends on the role. I think if it's something like social media, probably not. And as long as you had some social media background, for grounds maintenance, I think that's pretty entry level. So I think that would be fine. I think the best thing to do is just fill out the form and then we may not have many opportunities right away. So if you're okay to wait until the spring, we'll have more opportunities then. Or if you're wanting more of the high level committee level role where you do strategic planning, that's another role. So we're still actually in the planning phase of creating new role descriptions for the year. Yeah, I would just start off by filling out the form, and then if I don't get back to you and you're keen, just send me an email, and I'm always really responsive.
Okay. And then I don't know if someone else has another question, but I have one more. Is that okay?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. And this is more from the perspective. So we have four trees on our property that we've gotten through Reforest London. Is there a way to find out specifically if there's trees that would thrive on your property based on where you are in London through the organization? Or like, is there someone there you could talk to and send them like a photo of your backyard? Or...
Yeah, sometimes I get those emails where there's a picture of their tree, and we have some resources within Reforest London of tips. And you know what, I could probably send you a link to one of our web pages where we have some little diagrams of like, if you have these conditions, this kind of tree is good for your yard. So actually, if you don't mind just sending me an email, volunteer@reforestlondon.ca. I can help you out.
And we have one more question. Sean is asking, is the organization involved with the Urban Tree Initiative Canada or Tree Canada?
Or Tree Canada. I'm less familiar with all of our funding sources because I know that we've had a variety of funding sources through the years, so it's possible we may have, but I would probably need to check and confirm.
All right, thank you so much, Kelsey. I think we'll move on to Nicole now. If you want to share your screen.
Sure, I don't have slides, so I'm not going to share my screen, but I might at the end just to show our website.
Sure.
And I am just going to put the website in the chat there if anyone would like to take a look while I'm talking. All right, so thanks, Sarah. I'm Nicole. I'm with Let's Talk Science, which is a national charitable organization. And we create and deliver programs for youth and educators from preschool all the way to grade 12. And the program that I'm involved in is our outreach program. So it's run out of over 50 universities and colleges across Canada, including at Western and Fanshawe here in London. So we have volunteer opportunities for university and college students, as well as for those who are currently working in a field that in any way relates to science, technology, engineering, or math. And we don't have volunteer opportunities for high school students, but we do have some other opportunities and resources that I'll be mentioning too. For our volunteer opportunities, our group at Western recruits and trains volunteers throughout the year. And right now they're doing virtual classroom visits. So you'd be partnered up. We have 2 volunteers that partner up together. We get requests from educators. They get to pick from a list of topics, and they do a fun hands-on activity over Zoom or Google Classroom. So as an example, I did a story time activity where we read a Magic School Bus book, and then we all made bacteria just out of paper, whatever they had around the house. So that's one thing that we're doing right now. And another thing is we have a tomatosphere project. So this is where teachers can sign up to receive packets of seeds. One has gone up into space and one hasn't. And right now we're pairing teachers with some volunteers that can help do a virtual planting activity with them to help them get started on the project, where they compare the germination rates of the 2 different kinds of seeds. So yeah, right now it's all virtual. When it returns to in-person, we do classroom and community group visits and activity booths at festivals and events. And if it's something that you're interested in, you can take a look on our website, or you can also contact our group at Western. Our group at Fanshawe College is not active this year, but we're hoping that they'll be able to start up again once we're able to return to in-person outreach in the fall or later next year. And if you're currently working in a field that relates to science, technology, engineering, or math, we are occasionally looking for guest speakers or career panelists for different events. And if you're looking for even a really simple opportunity to volunteer, we're always looking for career profiles to post on our website. So we would just send you a link to a form. You can fill it out, attach a picture, we'll post it to our website. And it's a great resource for high school students. So if you're in high school, you're not sure what kind of a job you're interested in after you graduate, you can have a look through our database of career profiles and be able to search through a wide variety of backgrounds, and whatever you're interested in, you'll probably be able to find something related to that there. And for other high school opportunities, I just wanted to mention is that if you're looking to hear from local researchers or scientists here in London, our group at Western has 2 virtual high school symposium events coming up in May, and they're free to register for. So one is called Stem Cell Talks. The other one is called Let's Talk Cancer. And we also have, because everything's virtual, we have other sites across Canada offering events as well. And some of them will have more of an environmental theme to them if that's what you're interested in. And they all take place over Zoom. They include some guest speakers. Sometimes they'll include a fun interactive quiz or some kind of hands-on, minds-on activity. And you get to learn about the research going on campus and in the community. So if you're interested in registering for any of those, you can find it on our website. And if you're interested in any of the other opportunities that I mentioned, you're welcome to contact me. And I believe Sarah's going to share our contact info at the end. So thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Nicole. So someone was asking, is there any opportunity for international students in Fanshawe to join? And also, do we have any chance for volunteers to work full-time for Let's Talk Science?
Yeah, absolutely. For international students at Fanshawe College, I'm sure they would love to have the volunteers. There's all sorts of events, and you're welcome to pair up with other volunteers as well to do activities. A lot of what they do is more on campus and after school groups. So I think it would be a good fit if that's what you're interested in. And sorry, what was the second question again?
And also, do we have a chance for volunteers to work full-time?
Yeah, so there's 2 different opportunities. One is through the actual college or university itself. They hire what's called a site coordinator. So it's usually not a full-time position. It would be a part-time or a co-op position. And that takes place throughout, usually from September through April. And then through the summer, our national office here in London actually hires summer students. So you can keep an eye out on our website. And we are always looking for people to hire in the summer.
Awesome, thank you. All right, so I'll pass it off to Rebecca now.
Well, hi everyone, and thanks for having me here tonight. I'm very happy to be here. My name's Rebecca. I'm the Stewardship Coordinator with the Thames Talbot Land Trust. So like Kelsey, I have shrunk a 45-minute presentation down to 5 minutes. So it's going to be really quick. I'm just going to go over who is TTLT, or Thames Talbot Land Trust, what do we do, and then I will focus on one of our new volunteer programs, the Stewardship Volunteer Program, which we were super excited just to launch in the fall. And it's a really fun way to get involved if you really like to be outside in nature. So Thames Talbot Land Trust mission is all about protecting, conserving and restoring nature. So we work within the City of London as well as in Elgin County and parts of Middlesex, Oxford and Perth counties. And the way we achieve conservation is through owning and managing a network of nature reserves. So we tend to work with landowners who really are interested in protecting their land and the natural features on their land into the long term, so long after they're gone. And so we accept land donations, or sometimes we would purchase parcels of land, and then we set them aside as permanently protected nature reserves. So we currently protect 20 nature reserves, but we're constantly growing all the time. And this map here just shows where the nature reserves are situated. It's a little bit out of date, so there's probably missing maybe 2 or 3 of the newer ones, but you kind of get the idea of kind of the area that we work in and where the nature reserves are located. So 20 currently, as I said, which is about 1,900 acres of land. And predominantly these lands would be forests and swamps, but we also have marshes and meadows, and a couple of the properties have some parts that are actively farmed as well. So it's quite diverse. And we have recorded at least 45 species at risk as living on the nature reserves. So the work we do is really focused on protecting that biodiversity and those natural bands. So that was a super fast introduction. But definitely with 1,900 acres of land and only 2 stewardship staff, we can really use volunteer help in the ecosystem restoration and conservation projects that we do on the land. So we were really excited, as I said, in the fall to kind of do a big relaunch and restructuring of our stewardship volunteer program. And it's a great way for people to get involved in kind of those hands-on active restoration and conservation projects. So as you can see here, there's a range of different types of events and tasks that are available for volunteers to help with. And that can include things like garlic mustard pulls in the spring, seed collection for meadow restorations and things like that in the fall. We do restoration plantings. Usually that would be like wildflowers and grasses for pollinator habitat. We do various types of monitoring. So monitoring to see how well restoration projects are doing, or invasive species monitoring at different sites. So there's a whole bunch of different things. And then there's also the visitor experience side of things. So some of the nature reserves do have trails and are open to the public for hiking. So we can always use help with trail maintenance, clearing fallen branches and things from the trails, and just keeping an eye on how things are looking. And as well, we have 2 community wildflower gardens that we maintain. So for those of you who are into gardening, we do offer different gardening events, usually in the spring and fall as well. So the way this all works is we arrange it with different kind of events with specific tasks for that event. Everything's posted on the website. So you can visit our website and sign up for an individual event or for as many events as you want to. So that would be kind of a casual position where you just see what's posted and sign up here and there for what you're interested in. And then if you are interested in signing up for a longer term position with a bit more commitment, there's a couple of different options for that as well. So some options would be to become a stewardship mentor. So that would involve After you've learned a little bit and have a bit of practice, you could then become a mentor to other newer volunteers and help them to really feel comfortable in the role. Or there's other things such as being one of the lead stewards for a property or a particular group of the nature reserves. And that would involve kind of visiting the nature reserve, keeping an eye on things, taking pictures and sending us any issues that you see, and kind of things like that. So we try and keep it kind of as flexible and as easy as possible to help you sign up to things based on what time commitment you want to commit to, what your interests are for the different activities, and also the locations, since we are quite spread out. So if you're interested in signing up, this was a really quick introduction, so there's probably a lot more information that's missing, but you can find everything on our website if you visit thamestalbotlandtrust.ca/volunteer. So you can see the different volunteer roles there, and there's full role descriptions, including what time commitment would be expected and all of that information. And there's also a link to a quick application form to help you get started. So really focused on the Stewardship Volunteer Program, but also at that link, you'll see if there's other volunteer postings, which we do sometimes have for things like help at events or committee work, or I think we have a posting right now if you're interested in contributing a guest blog post. So yeah, thanks for your interest, and I'd be happy to take a couple of questions.
Thank you, Rebecca. So does anyone have any questions? I have a question. Is there like an age limit to be a volunteer there, or can anyone volunteer?
So we do have some events that are family friendly, so you'd definitely be welcome to bring your kids out, or if it's for high school, we can definitely do volunteer hours for high school. Some things would require, like if you're going out to a nature reserve by yourself, we would definitely prefer that would be adults. But we do, again, try and just be flexible. So we do have different opportunities depending. Mm-hmm.
Someone else asked, do you do bird count events as well, like at Hawks Cliff?
So we don't run the bird counts ourselves. We do have a lot of volunteers who do bird monitoring. The Hawk Cliff group is an independent group, so I'm sure you could reach out to them, and they're always looking for new volunteers as well. And as well, we have monitoring programs set up on a few of the nature reserves. So if you're an avid birder and you'd like to help out collecting some bird data for us, that would be really good as well.
Awesome, thanks. And Kate asked, what sort of long-term positions may be available?
So the longer term positions would be things that would, so we have one position called the Stewardship Location Lead. So that would be where you would pick a particular nature reserve or group of nature reserves that you were interested in, and you kind of take on responsibility for visiting maybe once every couple of months, and keeping an eye out for any issues like, if there's any vandalism or garbage or anything like that. Walking the trails and checking the status of those, and then helping us plan any field work that needs to be done on those sites. So there's kind of a few different aspects to it. So you could even help out with recruiting volunteers in your area, volunteer training events, helping to run the volunteer events. So that it can be really varied. We would try and kind of work something based on what you're interested in. But again, you can see those roles on the website, and there's like a bunch of tasks listed in each role, but you wouldn't have to do everything that's listed there. You could kind of pick a few that you're interested in, and we would kind of build a position for you there.
I think that's all the time we have for questions. So thanks, Rebecca, so much.
Thank you.
Lots of good volunteer positions with you guys. I'm going to share my screen now and go back to my slideshow. So I just wanted to share a few environmental resources for you guys, whether you wanted to just boost your knowledge or your resume. So the first one is actually from Thames Tablet Land Trust, and it's their Biodiversity Boss free youth conservation training program. And that's basically a program that's very hands-on about conservation and restoration. And you get to learn about invasive species management and ecological land classification. Another one is Eco Canada, which is an environmental career website. And they have a lot of free resources through their library, including ebooks, guides, webinars, short videos, and brochures. Another one that I found was Open Learn, and it's kind of like free university courses. They vary in length. I saw some were 1 hour courses, 2 or 3 hours, but they're cool because they'll give you like a certificate of completion if you do them, if you sign up. And they have nature and environment courses, and they have a bunch of other courses as well. And then the last one is the Society for Ecological Restoration. And they have free webinars every month that are open to the public. And they also have a webinar library of all of their past webinars. Yeah, so if you're like me and you've been binge watching Netflix a little bit too much, these resources might be a nice change. So I wanted to let you know about our volunteer spotlight, which is something, a program that we are starting up soon. So basically, organizations can nominate a volunteer, and then we'll be showcasing them in our newsletter and on our website, which will be cool. And if you want to stay connected with us, we do have a lot of social media. So we have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and then you can sign up for our newsletter, like I showed you before. So here's the speaker's contact info. If you don't have a pen and paper handy for this or the environmental resources, don't worry, I'm going to be emailing you this list at the end of the webinar. So that is actually it for tonight. Thanks so much for joining us today. I hope you learned a lot about the volunteer roles that are available. Hopefully you got some insight into something that you'd be interested in. And sorry, I wanted to say, those of you who had questions that didn't get answered, you can email the speakers after this webinar. So thank you so much.